don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I've been up way too early. Oh, wow. Styling.
Ooh.
Padres pitcher
What do
Joe
you got
Musgrove
what do you got on
joins us
this
right
shirt,
now.
boys? This was an aggressive play for my first time on the show.
Hey,
Wow.
was that your
Nasty.
City Connect uniform?
No, this I want a quick shout. I don't mean to steal the show, but my buddy with the band Pepper out of Hawaii, they partnered up with Volcom, and he always sends me some gear. So just unpacked this thing yesterday, rocking it first day.
No, that's
Nasty.
sick. That's awesome. We'll plug their socials with that too. I mean, that's what I
That's
wear.
a Scott Braun shirt
That
if I've
is
ever seen it.
that's Scott Braun in Tulum. That is good shit. I like that.
I
Joe.
look at a place in Minnesota.
You got what?
I look at a place in Minnesota.
You need a flannel. Fit right in.
No, you're styling in Minnesota. All right, so first off, Joe, appreciate having you on. Excited to get into things, but we were just talking about the situation with Contreras in St. Louis. My question to you more on the pitching side is, how has this year been, especially with pitch count? Because now the pitch clock's here. A lot more pitchers are just kind of controlling the ship and calling their own pitches.
Yeah, I kind of caught the tail end of what you guys were talking about. I honestly haven't really kept up with the whole Wilson thing. I saw that they were talking about taking him out of the catch and roll and DHing him or what. I don't know what the reason was, but it sounded like there was some issues with, either the game prep or the pitch calling that they didn't like. Is that right?
Pretty much. Well, they didn't say anything specific. They just said that Wilson Contreras is going to be our DH outfielder. No, wait, now he's a DH, and now we're going to bring him back to catcher sometime in the future. But we're not going to tell you what he does wrong. You'll just know it. So pretty much whatever you can imagine is the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few different types of pitchers, but the main two you see are guys that are like the Burleys that don't shake, and he pitches the right pitch if you execute it. And then there's guys that feel they have this scientific algorithm that's going to guarantee you success. So I've always leaned towards the side of prep and know what guys do well and what they don't do well, and when you get out there, it's kind of flow of the game stuff. I think it's important to game prep. I think it's extremely important to look at the numbers and show, these are statistics, these are facts. This guy's not doing damage on these certain pitches. But when I'm game planning, I'm never going in there saying we're going to start him off with this pitch, then we're going to, get him to 2 strikes with this and put him away with this. It's always, this is what I feel like we can start him off with. He's either very patient towards this or over aggressive towards it. And then this is what our best put away option is. The middle stuff, let's read the swings. Let's, take into account the scenario of the game, where we're at and, the innings wise in the game, and kind of play things, just trust your eye and trust your gut and the baseball instinct. So the pitch comm has been super helpful this year. If there is any confusion or if I get a sequence set up exactly how I want, I can kind of skip the whole process of getting through pitches and I can just tell you right away what I want to get to. But it creates a lot of overthinking when you're out there trying to plan 3-4 pitches in advance and, think you're doing yourself a favor by, calling the game and thinking you got everything. I put a lot of trust in the catcher. He sees things that I don't. He's got the hitter's mindset in certain scenarios. So I put a lot of trust in my catcher. So I, very, very rarely end up using the pitch comm myself.
Would you handle it the way that I guess you haven't heard, but would you ever throw your catcher under the bus in public, in the paper?
Absolutely.
Never,
Now, I
right?
feel like there's been a couple scenarios with St. Louis this year that, they've kind of burned their guys a little bit. And, it doesn't go over too well in the clubhouse, not only with the guy you do it to, but the rest of the players that are in there.
I got one more. You were saying about the pitch comm. The pitch comm, so you have it. Do you hold it or does the catcher hold it? How do you
the catcher's we both have a monitor. I got one on my belt. He keeps one on the shin guard. And he's calling the pitches a majority of the time. So by the time I catch the ball and I'm walking back to the mound, I'm already hearing a few options in my head. And there's plenty of times where I'm in between and I'll hit, cutter up and in or curveball down and in. And I'll just kind of look at him like, what do you think here? Give him a couple options and make sure we're on the same page. So you can kind of eliminate mound visits too, in a sense.
So with that, are you ever afraid that front offices are going to be like, hey, we want a pitch comm and we're going to hit the button?
I hadn't even thought about that, honestly, but that'd probably be the last day I use PitchCom.
Hey, what's up, Joe? I was down in Mexico. It was great to see you down there. Great to see everybody.
Yeah, me
First,
too,
someone
man. You
has
too.
two-part question. Hopefully, did you get the shits? Logan Webb was saying that everybody was getting the shits down
Dude,
there.
I think our crew made it out of there safe. We had a bunch of the staff and like family members and stuff that got sick. A few of my buddies that went down there that stayed and ate, outside of the field, and outside of what the players were eating. They got sick. But I think as long as you stayed within that little bubble down there and ate food that you knew was safe, we all ended up pretty good.
And the other part is growing up in San Diego, growing up around Mexicans. We grew up around me and you. We grew up around the Mexican culture.
Yeah.
How was that for you to pitch in Mexico City? You know what I mean? We grew up around the luchadors. I was there doing crazy stuff out there when you guys were relaxing, going to the
Yeah.
lucha libres and all that. But just that experience, because we grew up around that culture.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of ties to it, man. I mean, I wish I could have gotten your perspective in a sense. I absolutely wouldn't have traded the opportunity to play down there for anything. But, I wish we had more time to get out and then see a little bit more of the city and kind of dive into the culture a little bit. But yeah, a lot of that stuff. And I think, you take it for granted sometimes, the ability to just drive down the street or, hop on the trolley even and have it take you right to the stadium and catch a game whenever you want. Those people down there aren't getting access to that. And then, there's tons and tons of kids down there that have the same dreams that we all did when we were kids, and we just had a lot more availability and opportunity. So to go down there and, we did that baseball camp with a bunch of the kids down there, like 150, 200 plus kids. Seeing the excitement, even at a young age, their attention to detail and, even down to the uniforms, you can just tell they love the sport. And, getting to be some of the first ones to go down there and interact and show them a little bit of what Major League Baseball is like firsthand was really, really cool.
The only part that wasn't cool, because we had Stripling on the other day, it was pretty elevated down
That
there.
shit
so
sucked, dude. That sucked. Man, we should have been. They should have switched up the rules. They should have brought back some spider tack or some sticky stuff. Made it a real fun game. We're struggling.
That's exactly what he said. He was like, no one's going to want to pitch down there when there's a series down there every year. They're going to be like, no thanks. This is going to crush my ERA.
Right, and I was joking around with Preller. He goes, "Yeah, thank God we got that deal done last year. That wouldn't have looked too good on your RPKs." So, yeah.
Incredible. I love it. Hey, on that topic, so, I mean, we know the story. Grew up in the area, massive Pods fan. Fam was diehard for years. Dad, since they were a team in '69, I think is when they started. Yeah. And you had season tickets since they moved to the new park in 2004.
Were you at the first game of the new park?
No, but I was at one of those first week games. Yeah, I was there pretty early on. We had season tickets for those first like 2 or 3 years. We split them up with my dad and his 4 brothers.
So now we come full circle. Of course, you're on the squad. But then here's the next layer. San Diego only has one pro sports team now. And you guys are the show in town. I've been there many times over the last couple of years especially, and it is one of the best vibes in all of baseball. Your owner invests in the ball club. Like you said, you signed your nice extension last year. Many guys have been brought in, and they never stop. The Padres are in on every significant player. How fucking cool is that?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I haven't been a part of an organization like that. Obviously, in Houston, I feel like they did a good job of bringing a lot of guys over when they were still in the minor leagues and letting them develop together and bringing that, core group of players up. So, as many big names as we had just as many, young guys and rookies that were contributing at the same rate that a lot of those veterans were. But coming to San Diego, this is, especially being from San Diego and growing up, with the type of baseball that I had as a child, we weren't in the playoffs a whole lot. We weren't, in contention many years. So to be here, not only as a kid that grew up and a fan, but as a professional athlete that wants to win a World Series, especially for his hometown, it's kind of doesn't make sense to me. It's never been this way in San Diego. It's not something that anybody expected, but it's what everybody wants to see. Put competitive products on the field, and if you spend that money, you put yourself in a really good position to win multiple championships.
The playoffs last year, Joe, you guys beat the Dodgers for the first time forever as a Padre. You grew up a Padres fan. You know the history of the Padres. That was like, I was there. It was like you guys won the World Series when you beat the Dodgers. Then fast forward to this year, you guys play him the first time. You beat Kershaw, and then they put the crying Clayton Kershaw on the big screen. Thoughts on that? Because I thought that was a little – I mean, listen, as someone that's not playing anymore, fine, whatever. But, like, if I was on the Dodgers, I would say, hold up, boys. You see what they just did to our Hall of Fame guy? Let's go out and whoop their ass for
Yeah.
the next 2 days.
Yeah, I'm sure it pissed him off. It felt like a move more for, and I know none of the stuff that they do is really for the players up there on the board. It's to entertain the fan and create some level of excitement and keep this rivalry going. And I feel like as players, we do have a very different perspective towards the series as the fans do. I think the fans think that we're in there, with voodoo dolls plotting how we're going to knock these guys off. But it's baseball, man, and like as emotional as the things get, you try to be as focused on the task at hand as possible and not let those outside interferences affect the task at hand. So it's definitely not something any of us put in the bucket of things to draw out and put on the scoreboard. But I understand where the fan base is, as the excitement over. But first game of the year against a team that whooped our ass all year last year, and you talk about the level of excitement when we beat them, like I thought fans should be happy. They should be excited. We got our ass kicked by those guys. I think we won 5 games against them all year long. And as players, it felt good. It's like that fucking boogeyman that follows you around everywhere and you can't beat them. They beat you at home. They beat you on the road. And then to come back and beat them when it matters most. Yeah, it felt really fucking good. So we were excited about that. We were happy about that. It was momentum, especially in the playoffs. You guys know how it is in the playoffs. It's all about momentum and energy. And, even if you got to make shit up to build up a moment, that you do what you got to do. So I get what's going on there. I don't like it. I mean, that guy's a Hall of Famer. I've heard nothing but good things about him. I spent some time with him at the All-Star game last year. So I don't think he's ultra sensitive. I don't think he's looking too much into it. But yeah, it's not a very good look on our half.
I thought it was funny as hell.
I thought it was funny.
I
but
thought it
we're
was funny
fans.
as hell
That's
because I
what
ain't
we're
playing
saying.
anymore.
It's for us.
Yeah, because we're fans.
Yeah,
we're
it's funny.
Yeah.
We're watching the game like, oh, they just clown showed Clayton Kershaw.
And I think they know that too. I mean, it's like it is what it is. The fans loved it. It was a moment of laughter and joy for a lot of the San Diego fans. But I don't think he's looking over at the other dugout like we had something to do with that. So.
No, fair. And on the topic of bulletin board material, though, I will say this. You've got some, okay? So last year in the playoffs, this is a safe space. The Mets go after you.
My ear's itching. Hold on.
There you go.
Oh,
Well, it's
yeah.
sweaty, dude. It's
oh,
hot. It's
sorry.
hot in
I'm
here.
trying to wipe it off. Sorry.
It's sweaty. It's hot in here. But first on the motivational side, because I know you tweeted the other day when the Scherzer stuff went down, you were like, "Oh, can't wait to hear Brian Kenny's thoughts on this," because he called you out without knowing any of his story here. So you said, "Brian Kenny, I can't wait to hear your take." I mean, I'm sure that's still motivating for you when someone calls your ass out and they didn't do their homework on a number of fronts, from not looking at velocity compared to spin rate, first of all, and then second of all, not hearing an answer, saying, "Oh, he didn't have an answer for what's on his ear." Yes, sweat if you listen to the post-game interview.
Yeah, if he did his homework, you go back. I don't know what the hell the big deal was about the ears. If you go back and watch, there wasn't a single moment in that game where I go to the ears, to get any kind of grip. I'm not going to the ears and going straight to the ball. So I understand that it looks like that on TV and my ears are shiny, but they came out. I went through the entire process. I don't know what else there is to kind of prove my innocence out there. And, then you take Scherzer on the other hand, who, gets caught in the act. He goes through, and I still think that he got kind of screwed on that situation. He did what they told him to do and, whatever, he serves a suspension. But it just really irritated me the way that Kenny approached it, and with Lowe, and I can't remember if it was Ron Darling or whoever else was on that segment with him. The two ex-players are coming to my defense and telling them, there's a lot of moments, in baseball where your adrenaline's at a higher level. For me, that was the biggest start of my career right there. And if you look at the numbers compared to everyone else in that game and how relative they were to the increase that everyone experienced, I didn't think my numbers were all that different, from anyone's in the game. And then the simple uneducation on the fact that he's calling my changeup 250 RPMs higher, which is, completely contradicts what you're supposed to get out of a changeup, is less spin for more movement. So it just, none of it made sense. And the fact that he's on MLB Network, the one place that everyone goes as a amateur novice baseball fan to get their education and to learn a little bit about the game, and you have that guy out there just dragging my name through the mud. That really pissed me off.
Do you feel like there's no recourse? Do you feel like you feel like you're on an island? Like you just touched on Scherzer. Like, as a pitcher, do you feel like you're on an island and you could just be like, well, if they deem me to be doing something wrong, I guess this is judge, jury, executioner, all in the same one.
Yeah, there's not really much process you have to defend yourself, and I don't feel a need. I know everyone says you look more guilty the more you try to defend yourself, but it's not the fact that I think people think I was cheating. It's the fact that he's taken away, one of the biggest games of my career in a moment that, the emotional waves that I went through leading up to that, just thinking about all the things that I did to prepare for that moment and be ready for it, and to come through and be the guy to get the job done, and then have it all kind of, question kind of pissed me off. But yeah, it is like, there's not much defense up there, and, you can cry all you want, but, people have their minds made up already. And I feel like it's kind of irrelevant. I know Max has proven himself up to this point. He's going to continue to prove himself. And I feel like that's what I got to go do, is just continue to go out there and pitch the way I've been pitching.
But has Brian Kenny apologized? Because you got a big platform, and like I said, the place everybody goes, MLB tonight, and
Right.
you can't just sit there and just falsely accuse somebody of doing something. You can't do it.
Yeah.
But has he apologized to you?
No, I haven't heard a word from him, and I haven't run into him. And, I'm not gonna hold the guy up in an alleyway, but like, I want to hear from his mouth why he said that, and where he stands on this. Because if he has an apology, I haven't heard it yet. He hasn't reached out to me personally, which is, I'm not asking for this public apology, but I want him to speak to me at least and tell me, why he had those strong opinions and where he stands on it now. Because I feel like his take on Scherzer's thing, and I don't know if you could say that, and I feel like his defense would be that, I'm not going to do that again. I learned my lesson, so I'm not going to do it to the next guy. But it just felt very unfair the way that the two cases were taken.
Joe, speaking of apologies, you guys got a guy on your team, Fernando Tatis, that missed some time, a lot of time, for various things. Did he apologize to the team? Has he been received warmly? I know you guys are doing piñata parties and he's dancing. You guys are playing great. So did he apologize to the team? What? Because I've been in that situation where a guy comes back and they kind of give the, I'm sorry, guys, I don't know.
Yeah.
But how's the feeling with him around?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think he did it the right way. Obviously, there's, some doubt about why he waited so long and, how we got here. But the result was going to be the result regardless, whether he told us the day it happened or a couple weeks later. And I know that's not easy, especially talking to your teammates and your coaches and the ones that are counting on you the most, to be there with them in those trenches. So I know it wasn't easy for him, but I think he did it the right way. He called me, myself, Juan, and Manny, and we all sat down early and just kind of talked about what happened. And he told us that he wanted us to hear it first, and wanted our input and our advice, and kind of where we stand on it, if it's appropriate to bring it to the team. And I thought he did a really good job of sitting up, and obviously he's nervous, man. It's not an easy conversation to have, but he stood up like a man in front of the whole room, and just poured it all out there for us. Didn't keep anything. It was very straightforward, and I think it was received well. I think a lot of guys were kind of up in the air on what the actual truth was and what happened, and to get to hear it firsthand from his mouth, that's I think what everyone was really looking for. And after time kind of will heal everything. You've seen the response he's gotten since he's been back so far. But one of the things that we told him is, at some point throughout this process, you're going to have to forgive yourself, for what you did. I feel like he was really holding on to that, that feeling of remorse, and feeling like he's having a hard time getting back to being that fun-loving, high-energy guy, because he felt a need that everyone was looking at him. He felt a need to show remorse constantly. And I think the hardest part is forgiving yourself and moving on, and making sure that everyone knows that you're going to start from now forward and show everyone that, you really are that player that everyone thought you were. And so far it's been great, man. His energy has been awesome. He seems to have moved past it. And, he's been accepted really, really well back in the clubhouse.
I like how he's embracing a little villain action on the road too.
Yeah.
And even Contreras did it last night, and when he returned to Wrigley, because they cheered him and then they started booing him when he was hitting. So Fernando, and that was in Wrigley too, I think, when he started it, they're booing him and he's dancing.
Yeah. I feel like it's all awareness, man. Like, these are all things obviously that he's thought about, before these moments come. You got to be prepared for, the emotions are going to come with all the, the trash talk and the booze and whatnot. So, I mean, if anybody's, capable of dealing with it, it's that guy. His personality and his energy, he's going to make the most of it.
Joe, simple question here, but who's the leader in the clubhouse in your mind? Like, who brings the group together?
Man, we got a lot of guys, dude. I think Manny's kind of that guy that everyone sees as like the rock, the most consistent one. Bogey brings a completely different aspect. He's a little more soft-spoken, but he's the more one-on-one type guy that, that's been a really good mentor for Kim and for some of our young guys, Jackson Merrill down in spring training. He's been great for guys, and he's a good mix. I mean, the guy speaks 5 languages. He kind of talked to anybody, fit into any little circle there. So he's been really good at tying guys together. Martinez is an absolute character. He's usually running the mic on the bus. So it's kind of like by committee, man. Everyone's bringing a little something to the table. But if there's one guy, I think Manny's the guy that everyone's looking to.
Joe, now you've been with Yu Darvish for a few years. Has he taught you any pitches? Because he throws like 12 pitches. You throw a bunch of pitches.
Yeah.
He's showing you how to throw a slider, cutter, curveball, slow curve, split, change, 2-seamer, 4-seamer, this one, that one. I mean, I caught him 10 years ago, and I was like, sometimes I'd take my glove off and I'd say, let's try number 9. Okay. And he'd be like, oh, yeah. And I
He's I mean, he's one of the most interesting guys I've ever been around. When it comes to pitch design and just the thirst for information on the game. He's taught me more about my own pitches and how to make little adjustments more so than I've adopted his pitches. But everything about him, man, like when I first met him, he had these little they were like rubber stoppers, almost like toe spreaders would be on a foot. And they would go just between these outside 2 knuckles, so that his hand almost had like this really square, boxy shape and not like a normal rounded hand. It was like real, like this fascial tension and stuff. And he talked about that being a main focus of like the connection in his arm from his lat all the way to his fingertips. So the way that he physically throws a baseball is a lot different than most people. But his ability to watch a guy pitch, look at the metric numbers, and then go out and recreate that pitch in a day's work is like nothing I've ever seen, man. He'll create pitches for certain types of lineups that are coming up. If there's a weapon that he doesn't have that he feels will play well against the team we're about to face, he'll create a pitch and use it, 15, 20 times in his next start. It's things that you don't see out of anybody. So, you try to keep up with him, but, he's just one of a kind.
Now, like you're talking about a lot of hard work. Hard work happens in the weight room. What the heck happened with the kettlebell, dude?
It's been a bad year for the feet for me, dude. Damn. I mean, dude, I've been training barefoot for probably 7 or 8 years now. I've had a ton of foot issues in the past with, neuromas and ankle issues. My feet are just jacked up. So the more I get out of shoes, the better my feet stay throughout the year. And it was as simple as switching hands with the kettlebell. Just weight slipped out of my finger and it got my toe by a fucking cunt hair. I mean, that big. And it just clipped the tip of the toe and smashed it, popped the nail out the back. I did the hyperbarics for about 9-10 days, and I was back in a shoe in a week and a half. So the fracture, I guess, wasn't that bad. It was in a good spot, but yeah, just shitty timing.
Oh,
damn. So you're working out barefoot.
And I don't know that a shoe would have helped it, dude. I mean, it's a 40-pound weight to the toe, so I think it was going either way. But yeah, it didn't help that the shoe was off.
Dude, that's the SoCal lifestyle, bro.
I was gonna say, down here,
get with it,
man. Working out barefoot all the time.
In
Always
Orlando,
did.
there's people working out in their sandals all the time down here at the gym.
That's how we roll in Florida.
Interesting.
Yeah, man.
Joe, last one from me. I just wanted to ask about your thoughts on the Pirates playing pretty good ball right now. I know you were a part of that mix for a while, but also happy to not only be in San Diego for being around your hometown, but also you changed as a pitcher. And I know you've talked about this before, but when you reflect on all the changes that you made, and there's a number of ways that it's documented, what are your thoughts on kind of where you're at now?
Yeah, the Pirates have looked really good, man. I know their schedule's toughened up a little bit over the last week or so. They've, had a little rough stretch, but I give a lot of credit to Derek Shelton and his staff over there. I mean, those guys were incredible. I wish I could have played there longer and had a chance to win a little bit more when I was there, because I loved him and Don Kelly. Those are 2 of the best guys I've ever played for. But they got a fun team. They got some young talent, and I think adding a few of those veterans in there, which is kind of the piece they've been missing. They had a bunch of young talent, even from the years that I was there in 18, 19, 20, and seemed like over the years those guys kept getting shipped out, and they weren't really bringing many of those veteran guys in that have been around the game for a while that could just kind of school these young guys on how things are supposed to go, how to run a clubhouse, how to run a bus, like the little things that people don't think about. They matter a lot. When you have good energy and good chemistry with a team, and it's from doing team dinners and team events and having a good bus and a good card game on the plane, like all those little things that that the veteran guys are the best at. I think that adds a lot of value. So bringing in guys like Kutch and Santana and Rich Hill, good players, but also got some experience and time in the game to kind of show some of those young guys. So I think that's been a good adjustment for them. And myself, I really just think it's tapping into the mental game. I've obviously changed my arsenal a little bit, throwing the breaking balls a little bit more. But I feel like my mind is in a much stronger place, whereas before I still had that rookie intimidation kind of feeling when I would go out and take starts. It wasn't this calm aggression. It was like just this mayhem, like out of control blackout rage when I would pitch, and it would pay off really well for me sometimes, and sometimes it would overwhelm me and I'd get my shit kicked in and be out in the third inning. So I think just really learning how to manage myself, understanding my emotions a little bit, kind of, pulling the right strings throughout the course of the game to keep myself where I need to be has allowed me to, have a little bit more success. And then, yeah, of course, the fact that I got some pretty good breaking balls.
Last one before we let you go. The energy in the Padres. I'm a big Padres fan. I watch as many games as possible. The energy has changed in the last 2 weeks since Fernando came back. Do you think his energy is just jolted the team to play really good baseball the last 2 weeks? Not saying that you didn't play the first three weeks played fine, but the last 2 weeks have played really, really good. Do you think his energy overall, and obviously the pitching staff is good, the bullpen has been dominant. You think all that is just helped out, and how's the Padres going forward?
Yeah, dude, I think having him back in there helped a lot. In a lot of different ways. Obviously, what he does on the field speaks for itself. His ability to run the bases. He's a threat, wherever he's at on the field, whether it's offense, defensive, base paths. It's like a one-of-a-kind type player, but the confidence that he gives everybody else, when he's in the lineup every night or when he's out in right field, it's, as a pitcher, you got all the confidence in the world attacking the zone and not afraid to give up the solo homer here or there because of the type of lineup we have with Toddy leading it off. He's swung the bat pretty well since he's come back, which has been a nice reintroduction. But, you compare it to, these playoff basketball games, like all you hear is the fact Embiid's out or someone's down and they don't have their star player. It's like the team's got a little bit less or a little bit more responsibilities, to kind of pick up the slack where a guy like that's not in the game. So I think when he's in the game, he makes everyone else around him better. The stadium's, got a lot more energy when he's on the field. I mean, you guys see how these fans react when he comes out on the field, even just for, warm-up stretches. So, he's a big part of the ball club, on the field and just, emotionally for the overall energy of the group.
Joe, this was awesome, man. Appreciate the time, and we wanted to have you on and would love to do it again. So you're an important voice in the game. So it's important to have you on, especially on a platform like this with your fellow former players and all that, besides me as a joke. But
I love what you guys are doing, man. You guys got a good platform to get some real stories and real truth out there. So appreciate what you guys are doing.
Hey, just shout out your boy for the shirt so we can give him some love too.
This is my boy Esad Williams from the band Pepper. I got the truth on sideways. This is their little skull canuts. Bang. But partnered up with Volcom. So shout out to you guys. Thanks for the gifts.
Yeah, of course. And we'll give him a pop on socials as well. Thanks, Joe.
Awesome.
Good luck.
All right,
the rest
guys.
of the way here. We'll talk to you down the road, okay?
See you.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
Joe Musgrove with us on FT Live. Awesome.